know, he always comes to every demonstration immaculately dressed. He is the gentleman of the movement. He is the intellect of the movement. He is known as Sargon of Akkad or Carl Benjamin. Give him a massive round of applause.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It never gets old seeing such huge crowds. That's one that you know. We haven't got very much good news recently, though, do we? Stephen Jackson is the news likes to call him. Tommy Robertson is in there, and those of course the police. As just to clear up the quotes and notes, he said on this fake news. He was charged with robbery for failing to provide his PIN to his mobile phone under the Terrorism Act, which is just unbelievable. There's no evidence, of course. No reasonable man would suggest that Tommy Robinson is a terrorist. This is outrageous, but that's not what they're holding him. They're holding him to court. And every act that the state makes is a choice. There is a will behind it, the person in charge. And I think we can quite easily compare it to some of the other choices that the state makes. For example, Keir Starmer decided to release thousands of prisoners as soon as he came out. One of them he released 2 days ago, a man called Isaac Donker, who's otherwise known as Young Diggs, a gang member and drill rapper who was imprisoned in 2019 for enlisting 4 other men to kidnap, torture and ransom a 16-year-old boy. He served 5 years of his sentence and Keir Starmer decided he should be back on his streets. The detective inspector at the time, according to the Telegraph, says, quote, I believe that removing Donko from the streets of Newham has done a great deal to do serious violence in the borough. And I believe him. He was restored by Keir Starmer because he is not a threat to Keir Starmer's insane plan for this country. Peter Lynch was a threat to Starmer's plan, to the current ruling order. Peter Lynch was, of course, before his suicide, in prison, a grandfather who took part in the Southport riots. He was jailed for 2 years and 8 months for, as Sky News tell us, shouting racist and provocative remarks at police officers. He called asylum seekers child killers, he informed the police scum, and had a placard calling globalist organisations and politicians corrupt. The level of harm involved in each of these cases is self-evidently different and speaks very clearly to the two-tier nature of Great Britain. This is what it is like to have state power raised against you. This is what it is like to know that your government serves something other than the people of the country. You will receive no grace from how the state is constituted at the moment. In fact, they openly despise you and they will tell you so. Notice how swiftly Keir Starmer politicised the Southport riots. The very first day, far right. The next day, racist. What are those words? What do they mean? These are exclusionary words. These are words designed to put you into the second category, to show that you do not enjoy the same rights as everyone else. That's what they're for. So what kind of country does this create? Well, an oppressive one, an unfair one, but also a decaying one. A third world war, where politicians take their gifts and their bribes while the rest of the people are impoverished. The creeping socialist government that began under Tony Blair is finding its final realisation over Keir Starmer. For the first time since the Black Death, England is becoming poorer. We are being slowly but surely immiserated by design. If democracy can be defined as people getting what they voted for, then we haven't been a democracy for quite some time. We've been voting against mass immigration for decades. We have been voting against tax increases for decades. We have been voting against the increase of the administrative state for decades. And yet, now we are saddled with the most unpopular Labour government in history that intends to increase all of these things. They're going to continue the agenda of mass immigration. But what problem does that solve? What is solved by the overpopulation of Britain? We have now 15 million more people than when this began. Do we feel that we have fewer or more problems at this point? They're going to continue to raise our taxes. I don't know about you, but I'm dreading the next budget. When does this end? When will it ever be enough? There is a black hole that they will never fill because they are trying to provide national services on an international scale. It can never end. We do not have enough money. And they're going to continue trying to micromanage every aspect of our lives. When will we ever consent to this? Ladies and gentlemen, I will leave you with this story. All of these parties basically agree with the same thing. We have to use our vote. The power of selection is still with us. We must choose different parties. We must have it in our minds that it is unthinkable ever to vote for a blue, red, or yellow rosette ever again. And I'm sorry I don't need to mention the green voting line. You know, this is the only way out of this. We must commit to parties that are for the people rather than for some external value. Because they will turn that, as they are doing with the NHS, into an idol that will be lorded over you and you will be conscripted into its maintenance when it was set up to serve you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Carl Benjamin. I just want you to look on the screen. If everybody could just look on the screen, what do you see on the screen? Years ago, when the Beatles played massive stadiums, women came forward, and dare I say it, threw their knickers at the stage. Well, there's a pair of knickers in the audience that sums up the Labour Party. Labour are pants! A good friend of mine, he's come all the way from the United States of America. He's Tommy Robinson's best friend in the United States of America. He's an absolute legend. He's a massive Trump supporter. He's a fantastic speaker. Give it up for Donkey! Woo! Everyone say woo! Hello, England! Those of you who don't know, my name is Don Cheese, and I gotta tell you, if Keir Starmer thought he was going to put a damper on this event by putting England's greatest voice in lockup, he had another thing coming. Everybody say, Keir Starmer can kiss my ass. So I've told this story a couple of times, but I want to say it because I've never said it to 100,000 people before. You know, great heroes come along maybe once in a generation if you're lucky. You got your Winston Churchills, you got your William Wallaces. In the United States, we had people like Martin Luther King. You know, they don't come around a lot. Now in America, we have one this generation. We got lucky. We have a guy named Donald Trump. Maybe you heard his name before. But here you got another guy who I call the working class Donald Trump of Great Britain, and his name is Tommy Robbins. So the way I see it, you know, I see online a lot of people say, well, I can't wait to get out of here. I'm going to go to America. I'm going to go somewhere else. We all have to stay and fight for our countries. Because if we don't, at some point, there's not going to be anywhere to run to. So we have a choice to make. You guys have a choice to make. Years from now, generations from now, we can sit around a fire,
scrap up whatever little bit of food you can find, and you can reminisce with your grandchildren about what a great free country Great Britain used to be. Or you can tell them that today England is still free because you fought with people like Tommy Robinson and the great patriots that are here today, and the people who are on this stage today. It's going to be you people who saved this nation, mark my word. Now I've got something I want to read to you. Tommy asked me to read this to you guys. You know, I was with him yesterday. I felt honored to be one of the ones he asked to escort him to the police station yesterday. But he asked me to read this, and I'm not going to let him down. It's a poem I wrote. And I wrote it as it pertains to America, but it could go to any Western country right now. You can apply it to yourselves. And I guess I'd like to ask you guys, how many of you have ever been online or even out in public and someone called you a racist or a white supremacist simply because you espoused your personal conservative beliefs? Show of hands, who's ever been called a racist on social media? Yeah, a lot of you out here. So I wrote this for you guys, and I hope you enjoy it. It's a poem. It's called The Liberty Thief. If I were a racist, I'd come up with a plan. I'd give them just enough money so they wouldn't need a man. The father rebuked, but the mother would miss him when all of her sons are raised by the system. And what would I call this act of piety? I know, I'll call it the Great Society. No need for family. I'll take God out of school. You can worship the government, just obey all the rules. But to be a great racist, I need to find a way to decrease the numbers of black, brown, and, hey, abortion. But with a little more stealth, I'll fool the whole world and call it women's health. But still some will be born, so we'll need to confuse them. We can turn men into women and women into men. I think that'll do it. That'll do the trick, but still there will be others. We'll need to make them sick with food or drugs. Well, surely in time, we can also infest their neighborhoods with crime. And the people will love me, no matter what the fuss is, because I'll do all of these things and call it justice. Now, this plan will cost money. I'll impose more tax on the people who already break their backs. Who cares? They can nickel and dime it, and get this, I'll blame it all on the climate. No more comfort, no more convenience, no more oil, no gasoline. It's going to be amazing. This is a hell of a plan. Why even worry about the color of a man? Black, white, gay, or straight? For total control, I need to stir up hate and divide every single person by their simple beliefs. They might even call me the liberty thief, because I'll take all their freedoms, and it'll be tough, I confess. How will I do it? I'll use the press. They'll spread the word and the propaganda for years, until one day a new virus appears. That's when the feces really hits the fan blades, because I'll have forced vaccines and mask mandates. I can shut down schools and control elections, stuff all the ballots, section by section. And poverty will replace the American dream while the oligarch siphons the war machine. But if I'm really going to do this, if I'm really going to own it, I need to get rid of my political opponents. I can twist the laws and accuse them of crimes. It shouldn't be too hard. The judges are mine. Not to mention the prosecution. This is how it's done, man. Screw the Constitution. But for my masterpiece and my greatest iteration, I'll replace every patriot with illegal immigration. So that's it. That's how I'll do it. And with the competition gone, I'll be a shoo-in. So a racist and a tyrant, well, don't call me that. I need to be discreet. Call me a Democrat. Thank you very much for having me. I love you guys. God bless Tommy Robinson.
Right, we're going to watch a very, very short video, and then we're going to have our guests from France. Give a massive round of applause for these ladies that have come all the way from France. They're fighting against what's going on, the oppression of women in France. by migrant communities. Give a massive round of applause for them. We're going to watch a video, then we're going to bring them on to talk. Thank you very much.
Non, ça ira. Peut-être continuer, ça fait votre femme, je crois que vous, au contraire, on va parler de violence conjugale qui fonctionne, vous avez quelques six dans les maisons. Sinon, ces séparatistes-là, elles nous disent ça, parce qu'il y a un problème aujourd'hui avec les musulmans en France, d'accord? Hi, my name is Melissa, I'm 27 and I'm from Nantes in France. I am an activist and spokesperson for the Nemesis Collective. First, we would like to thank Tommy Robinson and the event organizers for inviting us. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to speak. The Nemesis Collective was created 5 years ago by 7 young women who were tired of mainstream feminism. This feminism is hypocritical. They pretend different women, but they refuse to talking about certain aggressors. If no one talks about the real dangers for women, then we will. We talk about all forms of violence against women, regardless of the aggressor. But we do notice a recurring pattern in immigrant representation among these aggressors. We fight against the growing insecurity, judicial laxity, and against regressive and patriarchal cultures brought in France by immigration. Immigration is a big problem and we are not afraid to say it. We do impactful actions to wake people up and to make politicians take responsibility. Because of this, we are called racist, but we speak the truth. And daily facts show that we are right. Today, we are 150 activists in France, Belgium, and Switzerland, fighting to make the truth heard. Hello, my name is Yuna Khaida. I am 20 years old, and I am the spokesperson for the Nemesis Collective. I decided to take action because I didn't want to stay inactive while women in France face insecurity. About a year ago, you may have seen today's magazine cover. It featured 3 French Muslim women wearing abayas in the color of the French flag. But you may have also seen our response. Along with 2 friends, we created our own version. We posed just like the woman in the original cover, but wearing blue, white, and red dresses instead of abayas. I wore a dress that was a bit shorter to show a sense of freedom that the woman on the original cover didn't seem to have. This was important to us because France is a secular country and French women are free. Our flag should not be represented by clothing that symbolizes women's submission. On April 9, I was placed on police custody for 8 hours for holding a sign that said, "Foreign rapists out." It's hard to understand why I was treated like a criminal for simply pointing out a tragic reality. How can anyone be prosecuted for trying to warn people about these dangers? Why does our system punish those who speak out instead of focusing on the real safety problem. It's unfair. At Nemesis, we will not stay silent. Our goal is clear. We must remind everyone that women's safety comes first. We have one simple message. Free us from immigration. Thank you.
Hello, Great Britain. My name is Anaïs and I am also a spokesperson from Collective Nemesis. It's a great pleasure to be here, but I must tell you, English is not my mother tongue. Please be kind if I make any mistake in your beautiful language. I've always been fascinated by the history of England, the architecture, the heritage, churches, museums, etc. So in 2012, I came here to study English. I fell in love with your city. But that passion was suddenly destroyed one night at the exit of Edgware Station on the Bakerloo line. That night, I was sexually assaulted by 3 men of Pakistani origin. They were laughing while attacking me, as my fear was a kind of joke game. They wanted to control my frozen body. But by some miracle, a man entered, pushed them away, and saved me right before they raped me. Thank you. Who knows what he could have done? Without him, I might not have been here today to share my story. In short, I returned to France the next day, thinking being with my family will be enough. What a mistake. Do you know that 63% of sexual violence offenders in public transport in Paris are from foreigners? I'm tired of seeing our daughters, our mothers, and our sisters raped, attacked, and murdered. We refuse to turn a blind eye to reality, to be silent. This must stop. Immigration is killing the French people, the British people, European and West. Ladies and gentlemen, moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas, we need you. It's now or never. I ask you to rise up and stop being spectators to the destruction of our own people. Your daughter, your son, our civilization needs you. Join us. Together, let's raise our voices to defend the rights, safety and freedom of European women. Let this movement cross borders and close them to those who do not respect our values. One of the solutions I'm proposing today is to start a Nemesis branch here in London. Join us. Come speak to us. Follow us on social media. And together, let's expose what English women are also going through. Let's defend our civilization together. Thank you, Great Britain. And never forget, France loves you.
Hi, I'm Alice. I'm 27 years old and I'm from Nantes, a city in western France. My city has been governed for the past 10 years by a left-wing mayor and a so-called feminist mayor. And feminism is about naming streets after women. That's not feminism. Even less when security is neglected. Assaults and harassments are skyrocketing. Numbers are alarming. Women like me feel forced to take extra precautions when going out. We're carrying pepper spray, avoiding public transport at night, and sharing locations with friends every day. The mayor's only response to tackling insecurity has been to put surveillance cameras. But it only feels like a small band-aid on a gaping wound. Meanwhile, drug trafficking and drug-related crimes have taken root in the very heart of the city. The prosecutor of Nantes has even stated that many of the offenders
who are involved in serious crimes come from Africa, and they show little interest in integrating. This isn't just my story, it's Europe's story. It's our story. This is the reality for every woman in major city in Europe. Is this really the Europe we want to keep living in and pass on to future generations? We are all here today because we will understand how important it is to stand up against the people in power who are imposing on us immigration and silence. Thank you, London.
Wow, some amazing stories and amazing testimonies there. And this is the fight that we're in. It's not just the fight for our country, it's the fight for our women. And every single man in this crowd should be ready to fight and die for their women, for their daughters, their wives, their girlfriends. And that's what true feminism is all about. I want to ask a question. How many people in this crowd support reform? Put your hands up if you support reform. How many people? It's gone down since the last demo. How many people in this crowd support Tommy Robinson? There you have it, Nigel. Well, the reality is the next speaker, Mr. Richard Shaw, found out you can't do both. He stood for Tommy Robinson, he lost his position in reform, he stood on principle, and he stood for what was right. Give it up for Richard Shaw.
Hello! Well, I don't think you lot are as nervous as I am. I've never seen this many people before. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you. Now, before the election, when I stood for reform, I thought Tommy Robinson was a racist, because that's what the media had told me. And people were asking me during the election, do you support Tommy Robinson? No, I don't support racism. People say, he's not a racist. So anyway, I looked into it after the election, and guess what? He's not a racist, obviously. So, I did a video, and I apologised to Tommy, and I put it on Twitter. I never actually thought he'd see it, but he did, and he shared it. And what did Reform do? They kicked me out of the party. Yeah? They removed me from my position as spokesperson for Stourbridge because I had the audacity to apologise to Tommy. Now, I don't know about you, but I stand up for the truth. And Reform, they said they stood up for the truth. That was what they ran on. That was their whole principle, was that they were going to do politics differently. Hello? They were going to do politics differently. But they don't. Reform UK are just like the others. They're just the Conservatives with different branding. So, who are you going to support?